We're going to talk spodding and spod mixes now. So first of all, this is the Munger that I use on most waters, certainly in the UK. That's chili hemp from Bait Tech, which I rate really highly. Also their party mix, which has got loads of little bits and pieces in it. I've chucked a little bit of maize and stuff in there as well for colour and to give me some other options on hook baits. And then I've ground up some cell boilies in the Korda crusher and put those in as well. And I've added a little tiny bit of ground bait to this one because I'm going to spot it straight away and I don't want to lose any bait out the back of it. Normally I would let the boilies absorb all that goodness from the hemp and the party mix, and that will stodge it up just a little bit, and then you won't lose any out the back. No pellet in there at all for most of my fishing because generally it brings the bream in. So that's what I recommend in the UK. In Gigantica, no point using that whatsoever. I reckon less than 10% of that will actually get to the bottom because there's so many roach in here, they'll eat the hemp on the way down. In 20 foot of water, it probably won't ever get there. So this is the Gigantica version, which Danny affectionately terms as monkey sick. Much bigger items in there. They drop through the water quicker, harder for the roach to eat. So that's what goes in the lake, and that's actually prepared here for you fresh. So you don't have to bring your own. There's a few tigers mixed in there as well that you can pick out for hook baits, and obviously maize and yellow peas are great hook baits as well. So they're the two different mixes, the Euro and the English version. And then the Spod Rod and Reel is my old faithful Infinity Spod Rod. This is the blank that the Infinity Spod Rods, the factory built ones, were basically designed on. It's basically a 13 foot 3 3/4 fishing rod cut down to 12 foot. So it's about 4 1/4, 4 1/2 test curve. Very fast taper, very fast recovery. Spod's an extremely long way. And then the reel is the emblem Spod reel. Only 75 turns for 100 yards retrieve on that. So it makes the job a lot easier. That's like 25 turns faster than most of the other reels. So 10 spods, that's 250 turns less. And then the spod itself, if I can just take that off, that is the Korda Skyliner that's been out for years now. I'd say that's probably the #1 spod in the UK, hopefully in Europe as well. And the changes we've made to that, you can see there we've got a stiff tail, a moulded tail that's got 45 pound breaking strain. That just clips in. Once you buy the spod, you just clip it in yourself. There's the 3 locating holes there, 1, 2 and 3. Just clip them in, number to number, and that's it. And then just tie the line to the loop at the top. You don't need a swivel or anything on these. Works absolutely perfectly. So I've got my marker float out there now. I've chucked it out to where I'm fishing on this session, which is about 95 yards. So we're going to get this one out there and then show you the other spods in the range. So I've got my bucket in front of me. I've got another bucket with water in right next to it just to wash my hand off. I've already wet the braid up. That's very important, so that it comes off the spool really easily and doesn't frap up. Check behind me, all the way back and out there. It's got a little bit left, that one. Right, for English fishing, that's miles too far away. I'd like the spod to be 3 to 4 foot either side of the marker, and that's where all my rods would go in the UK. So that's a little bit too far, but it shows you how easily that spod is cast 90 yards. Now before you wind it in, just flick it a couple of times to shake the gear out of it, and then rod up. And with the floating braid I've got on, I've got 20 pound floating braid to a 30 pound armour cord leader. So the leader knot is absolutely tiny. That takes the force of the cast, and look at the beauty of these spods, how easily they come back in again. Don't have to pump the rod or anything, just constant winding gets you out there. There we go, up to my hand, straight into another spod full, 3/4 of a spod, push it down with your fingers, wash your hand off, and then straight up and back into it. All my weight on my back foot to start off with, transferring through to my front foot. That's better. There we go, within a couple of foot of the marker. So that is the Skyliner. Gets a load of bait out really quickly, weighs about 5.5 ounces when it's full of gear, and that's what I'd recommend if you're going up to probably 120 yards and you've got to get loads in as quickly as possible. This is the Skyraider Spod, probably the #1 long-range spod out there at the moment, and that's because it's tapered towards the back, so more weight in the front of the spod keeps it more stable in the air and makes it cast further. Slightly smaller payload than the Skyliner, weighs about 4.5 ounces when it's full of gear. Still the high-vis nose cone that you see on the Skyliner spods as well, and that brings it up to the surface really quickly and helps the bait dump out of it. Now I'm going to cast this one out to the marker, which is about 90-95 yards, to show you how easy it is. If you're struggling with the other one, swap over to this and it'll get the distance quicker, and then I'm going to blast it and let's just see how far past the marker it'll go. So exactly the same drill, fill it up sort of almost to the top and then press it right in there so all the weight is in the nose of the spod. Wash my hand off, and the drop is about half the length of the rod. Make sure that bail arm's locked, and out we go. Right, that's hit the clip about 20 foot up in the air, so that just that little flick there would have gone even further. So we're going to take it out the line clip. These emblem spods are brilliant because the line clip on them is huge, so it doesn't mark the braid at all. You could even spod with mono and it wouldn't be a problem. So I've taken it out of the clip. Just as always, flick it a couple of times just to clear it, and then strike that floating braid up off the surface and just get it out of the water straight away. And that will come in just as easy as the Skyliner because of the way we've done the holes on it. Important not to fight with the spod at this point, just a steady pace when you're winding in. I'll keep it on the surface, and watch, straight up to my hand, into the bucket, fill it right up to the top, and then really press it down. That stops anything coming out the back of the spod, it just makes it more stable in the air. Right, let's give this one a go. Well, that is at least 70 yards past that, I would say. So in calm conditions, that's 160 yards, I reckon. I've almost cast all the braid off the reel, and that's without practice. Once you get into it, you can get it further and further and further, and because they fly so straight, doesn't matter what the conditions are like, you can drop it on top of that marker float every single time. That's important when you're spodding, to keep all the bait in one spot. So they're the long range versions. Let's have a look at spodding in a little quiet corner. This little fella is the mini Skyliner, perfect for swims like this. This is Scotty's corner, very, very quiet. If the fish are in here, you don't want to make a load of commotion and use one of the bigger spods like the normal Skyliner. So we swap over to this one, exactly the same as the rest of them. Just fill it up 3/4 full, press him down, and then out we go. And this fella is just on a normal cart rod. This is a 3¼ infinity. You can see that it's hardly even bending the tip of the rod, but you can put it on any cart rod, sort of 2 3/4 and above, and we're gonna fish it against the clip just like we do on all the others. No spillage, dink, just makes hardly any splash at all, almost nothing. I think Ali said it makes a little ploop as it hits the surface on one of the TV shows. And we just give it a little flick, just make sure all the gear's out of it, and then wind it in. And a great little tip on this product is you can spod to your area and then take the spod off your fishing rod, put the rig on it, and then you know you're spodding almost exactly over the top of the rig. So a very stealthy little product, great for getting small amounts of bait into an area where the fish are already feeding.